I'm so excited to be here with you, Keir, the co-founder of Shogun and Elevate Records. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It'd be great to hear in your own words kind of explain what Shogun is. I know you cover a lot of different areas. I know the label's grown massively in the past couple of years.
Yeah, so I'm an ex-DJ producer, grew up in the drum and bass world, and prior to Shogun had releases on many of the big drum and bass labels. And myself and my business partner, Ed Friction, started Shogun Audio 20 years ago, primarily as an outlet for our own music. And over time, we started working with other artists, signed other artists, and grew to what we are now, which is a group of brands, record labels, including Shogun Audio, Elevate Records. We've got a publishing company called Temple Publishing. We also have a production tools and sample pack business. We're doing events and merch and all the things that a modern music company should be doing, really.
Busy, busy man.
Yes.
So it'd be great to hear also how Shogun has kind of evolved into a multifaceted brand. Like you said, why did you kind of want to keep branching out into all these different avenues and keep kind of evolving as a brand?
Alongside being in music, I also had maybe 15 years in industry, working in non-music related businesses. So I personally had a view on what running a business was like. And I always had an ambition to run a big business, to take something as far as it could go. And I was always inspired by some of the other bigger independent record labels, either in the UK or internationally. Really just wanted to grow out the biggest, sort of most successful business we could within our scene, within our niche. And yeah, you know, from the early days, we had a publishing company that we, through luck or judgment, started quite early on in our history. And over time, we wanted to pick off different audience groups. So Elevate Records was born to do a more mainstream, big room kind of sound of drum and bass. And hopefully in the future, we're going to maybe add other brands and build our music offering out, so that the goal, ideally, if we, in a perfect world, in another 5-10 years, would be to have a music group with multiple brands, covering off not only drum and bass, but maybe other dance music genres, electronic music genres. I mean, it's sort of grown organically, naturally, really, from us, and the people that we work with. And there's never been a written down business plan, but it's just sort of going with what feels right, and also reacting to what's happening in the environment.
I mean, I know you said obviously that it's kind of gut feel, but obviously there's a strategy behind you're doing some incredible global campaigns.
Yeah.
Could you kind of explain a little bit about that, maybe how you approach an initial release or a campaign, or being reactive, as you said, on things that are kind of working?
In terms of marketing campaigns, each artist, each release, each project is different. And again, to touch on my life prior to Shogun, I spent 15 years working in marketing, so for big brands and business to consumer brands, business to business brands. So I sort of had a feel for how we could apply those same principles to music. But yeah, we do everything from big international campaigns with full radio and specific territory-wide marketing activities, to some quite underground drum and bass releases, which is underground club music. And we really take each project and each artist individually, and then we're trying to build stories, build a narrative. One of the biggest challenges these days is to cut through, in terms of so much music, so much noise. So it's like, how do we build a story that's going to cut through? And it's really, as always, marketing is around building a story, making something that people are going to care about. And that's what we try to do. Not always as successful as we would like, but when we get it right, it's really a great thing.
So you mentioned Ed as well. What's the dynamic like between you guys? How does it kind of work in terms of, running the label, and how do you kind of complement your skill sets?
Casting our mind all the way back to sort of the late 90s, I'm from Brighton in the south coast of the UK, and we were doing drum and bass parties, and we were, sort of ahead of the curve, really, in terms of people that were doing what we were doing in that area. Ed is from just up the road from Brighton, and he used to run a little fanzine. So back in the day when, you pick up a free magazine from the old record store, he came to interview us for his fanzine, and we became friends. And on previous labels, prior to Shogun, we collaborated as producers, and put some of his music out on previous labels. He and I then had probably a 10-year production partnership where we would release on Hospital Records, Metalheads, all of the different labels within drum and bass. At which point Shogun was born, and now I'm running the business and he's a DJ producer and A&R. So we sort of got similar skills, but also quite different. So I'm the business guy, so I'm maybe a bit more organized and a bit more strategic. And also, having had experience outside of music, I can sort of see how businesses can be run and take like the best bits of that and apply it to music. So today, he looks after A&R for the labels. So he's sort of head of A&R or A&R director, whilst I'm CEO. And actually that split works quite well now because it's based on trust and respect about what his skills are, and hopefully back the other way into what my skills are. And that's how we've built it, really. So whilst we are together in terms of running the business, we have quite defined roles, and that actually is I think quite important in terms of having a long-term, business relationship with someone, because you need to be able to trust, rely, and have respect for each other to play to your strengths.
Amazing. Dynamic duo.
Yeah, well, some would say that.
Yeah, awesome. What do you think the key components of running a successful label, and particularly drum and bass label, in today's kind of landscape are? There kind of maybe three things from your perspective that are you kind of the key things that you kind of look to do, or maybe there's more, maybe there's less?
I always say on questions like this, it has to start with the music, because nothing else happens if the music isn't, amazing. So that starts with, in our case, great A&R or working with brilliant producers or vocalists. So that's the key. And then everything else can be taught or learned, or you can partner with other people. And in our case, if you look back across our catalogue, we're very privileged to have worked with some amazing artists and have some amazing music. I'm not sure the exact number, but 1 million tunes a day to Spotify or whatever it is, and growing. So it's about being heard, being noticed, and for me that's about great marketing. It comes down to marketing stories. It comes down to doing something unique and different that's not just going to, go unnoticed. Because the worst thing in the world when you're working with an artist and they've spent months honing this piece of art is for then no one to care about it, right? So our job is to do the best we can with that amazing piece of art that someone's created. And I guess beyond that, there's so many choices now these days, right? So an artist can self-release, they can sign with a major, they can sign with an indie. The barrier to releasing music and the barrier to making music is really, low. You just need a laptop, and you can upload your track to any site and get it out in the public. So I think from an artist's point of view, it's knowing who the right partners are, and again from our side, it's finding the right people that we work well with.
And on that note, in terms of partners, obviously you've partnered with Believe and Be Electronic. How's that been? It'd be great to hear, because I know it's been a long-term relationship with Believe.
So I think we've been with Believe for about 8 or 9 years. In that period, we've benefited from the organic growth of streaming in particular. And I think one of the things that we've done collectively really well is be streaming first in our mentality. So we, and particularly my approach with the team at our end, has been to embrace streaming from very, very early days. I think that paid some big dividends over time, because as the market swung in our favour, we were already doing the right things and had the right learnings and the right sort of attitude going into that. So for me, Believe have been an amazing partner, and we've had years and years and years of double-digit growth year on year on year, and there's never really been any reason to question what we've done together, because it's been a big success. Team have been great, people have been great. So I often say this is no disrespect to distributors out there, but if I don't hear much about the distribution side of my business, then everyone's doing a great job, because it just needs to work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we just rely on the system and the people and that side of things doing what it's supposed to do, which means we can focus on being brilliant at finding artists, developing artists, creating music, being good at sales and marketing, which are the core strengths of our business. So as long as that's happening, then great. And so far so good. It's been a great relationship.
I mean, the master side of the label is clearly a very well-oiled machine. Why did you decide to go kind of all in on the publishing side as well?
We've been talking to you guys for a number of years about the publishing side of our business, and it just seemed like a natural evolution of our relationship. As I said earlier, it's been a great working relationship. Our publishing business is growing. As the business itself grows out, either through different genres or through different artists, we want to work harder on the publishing end of what we do. And it just seemed like an obvious fit, really. And obviously you guys have made some changes recently to your publishing setup. And yeah, after years of sort of flirting together with that idea, we've finally gone for it. So yeah, and I think there's a lot of good things to be had about having joined up conversations. So talking about records, talking about marketing campaigns that can flow into sync or licensing conversations. So that's what I'm excited to get stuck into, really, is having those 360 type conversations with you guys where we can do more than just, here's a track.
Yeah.
But actually, no, here's a campaign, here's a story. You already get it because we've been talking to you about this thing for the last 3 months or whatever. So yeah, I'm hoping that will have a lot of synergy and some positive benefits for all of us.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think everyone's really excited about that for sure. And I mean, since working with Believe and working together, I mean, there's been some incredible success. Artists like Friction, Polo and Bryson, Emily Mackis, obviously. Any kind of other standout moments or from those artists as well that jump out to you?
It's always like asking you to choose between your children.
Yeah, choose a favorite.
You always leave someone out. But yeah, in the more recent history, the artist you mentioned, Emily in particular, is having a brilliant moment right now. Lots of new stuff coming up through, that we're really excited about. Polo and Bryson album next year, we're all very excited about. But right now, this year, is 20 years of Shogun Audio. So we're just at the start of rolling out a campaign, which is a bunch of original tracks from the current roster and previous roster, a bunch of remixes from legends of classic tracks from the back catalogue. And that'll get wrapped up in, with a tour and some physical products and all of that stuff. So yeah, we've got that in the short term, but then yeah, lots of exciting new artists coming through. And actually interesting, we sort of switched our strategy a little bit, or modified our strategy about 3 or 4 years ago to work more with vocalists, Emily Mackis being a good example.
Yeah.
And we've got now a mixture of what you'd say traditional DJ, producer, dance music, like types of acts alongside vocalists. And that blend, I think, is what we're going to be looking at going forward, because some of the vocalists actually, especially when you think about the modern marketing techniques, how you can build stories and how you can cut through.
Yeah.
So, but we still want to be true to the roots of drum and bass, which is where we come from. But again, it's sort of experimenting, trying new stuff, evolving. One of the things I think we do well is to adapt and to change, right? Because if you just stand still, then you're probably going to go backwards. So yeah, it's a constant evolution, and trying to keep ahead of the game, really.
Yeah, awesome. And in terms of international reach as well, what have kind of been the strategies around there, kind of expanding the community and the audience base as well in other territories?
Yeah. Well, drum and bass in particular as a genre is having a really big moment, especially this year. And I think in conjunction with you guys, we've started to develop territory-specific campaigns more effectively in the last few years. And it's a bit about us becoming more global in our thinking. It's a bit about the artists and the music becoming more global in its reach. And in particular, the US at the moment seems to be having a bit of a love affair with drum and bass. So we're having lots of conversations with you guys about, how can we capitalize on that? But yeah, I think it's one of the benefits of working with yourselves as a global distributor is that we have access to global ideas, global teams. So, we speak to the guys in New York, the guys in Australia. So that's a real benefit for us when we're building out these international campaigns now.
Where do you kind of see yourself evolving over the next 20 years?
Where we're at now is that we're pretty strong, established in UK. I think international is a big focus for us at the moment, especially if we can capitalize on the music that we make being at a sort of high watermark at the moment. So how far can we take this thing? So that's really interesting to do more within the genre. But I think ultimately where I think we would like to go is to build out a music company. And I look at some of the bigger independents and some of the bigger music companies that got multiple brands that do multiple jobs for different consumer types or for different demographics. I'd love to be in a situation where in 3, 4, 5 years we've got a music group with different record labels, different artists, people signed to publishing but not for records, people signed for records but not for publishing, building out our e-commerce business, building our events business, building out our sync and licensing business. So it's more of the same really, but I think big is the sort of mantra for the moment, and also being quite established, being 20 years old, having had lots of experience and a brilliant team, then how can we expand out our offering, into different areas? And that's really what we're working towards at the moment. I can't tell you the specifics of it, but that's kind of the overarching strategy, And it's this idea of evolve or die. And we just want to keep pushing it forward really and seeing how far we can take it.
Amazing. Well, I mean, you've achieved so much, and we're so excited to see what happens next as a partner with Believe and Be Electronic. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you actually to all the people that we work with, all of our partners, so many people, to mention, and also the artists. What an honor to be on this journey with these amazing people. So, no, if anything, it's just words of thanks and gratitude, really. Like, we're very grateful to be in this position, doing the thing that we love for our jobs. So, we just want to keep it going and see what happens on 30 years.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Keir. Really appreciate your time.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.